Up front, we have a look that's very similar to the outgoing Optima. You'll notice the big difference right over here with this tiger nose grille, and that's what Kia calls this particular design element. You'll notice it is now a little bit better integrated with the headlamps. We also have a new LED daytime running lamp strip that's on the side and the bottom of the headlamp right there. And we have our radar cruise control module inserted right down here below the main portion of the grille. Now, included with this generation of the Kia Optima, if you get the radar cruise control, is an autonomous braking system. That would be a low-speed system designed to completely prevent certain rear-end style accidents. In order to help the proportion up front, Kia has actually made this generation of the Optima about an inch wider than the last generation Optima. That gives us a little bit better of a look up front and a little bit more space on the inside. The Optima's dimensions are up for 2016, but not as much as many vehicles that grow from year to year. This is now about 191.3 inches long or so. That means this is right about the same length as a Honda Accord. Now, the big difference you'll notice between this and something like a Honda Accord is right back here, because we do get a much more coupe-like profile to the Optima than you get in the Camry or the Accord. Now, very much like the Fusion and the Chrysler 200, that does limit rear passenger headroom, but it gives us this sexy profile right here. And Kia accentuates that by continuing this chrome strip all the way down here onto the trunk lid. To improve interior room, Kia also stretched the wheelbase about half an inch, improving legroom front and rear in real-world situations. And we now have a little turbo badge right up here to tell people that you paid extra for that turbocharged engine. The rear end has been tweaked to give this a much sportier appearance than the last generation. We have these optional all-new LED tail lamps. They're angled in to give a little bit more aggressive look. We also have a backup camera here that's also supplemented with an all-around camera system that is available. That places 4 cameras all around the vehicle and a display in the center console. We also have twin exhaust tips that are well integrated into the sporty-looking lower valence and nicely integrated rear parking sensors. The 1.6-liter turbo model gets an eco badge right there below the tail lamp, and then we only get a single exhaust tip below that. For 2016, there are 3 different engines. The LX and the EX get a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder engine. It produces 185 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. For improved fuel economy, there is now an LX Turbo that gives you a 1.6-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that produces 178 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. Now, in addition to that turbocharged engine, we also get a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission that's very similar to what we've seen in the Hyundai Sonata Eco. Then the model that we have right here is the SX turbocharged model that gets a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine that produces 245 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. You'll notice that this 2-liter turbo is down on power versus the last 2-liter turbo. Now, that will affect your 0 to 60 time, but the reason that Kia did that is because it improves the drivability of this engine. The torque is around the same as the last engine, but it happens much, much lower in the RPM band. That means that when you're climbing up a hill, this engine doesn't need to downshift, and the previous engine did. Front seat comfort has dramatically improved for 2016, and I give this 10 out of 10 points up front if you get the optional seats. These would be the optional 12-way power seats with 4-way adjustable lumbar support and 2-position memory. Now, this seat design is all new for Kia, and it really is a big difference between this and a lot of the competition out there that only has 2-position lumbar. The last thing that's changed up front for 2016 is that we now have the availability of a 10-way power passenger seat that we didn't in the last model. That means the seat bottom cushion is adjustable for height, and really the only limit that we get is that we don't have the 4-way lumbar support. We only get a 2-way lumbar support over there for the passenger. This car has absolutely no problem when it comes to rear seat legroom. You can see that I have about 6 or 7 inches left sitting right here behind myself in the driver's seat at 6 feet tall. The problem is headroom, and it's all caused by the profile that we get on the side of the Optima. It means that if I were to sit upright in this back seat and have my head touching the headrest, my head is touching the ceiling. Also new for 2016, we get available window shades that are built right into the rear doors. Taking a closer look at the interior, our particular model has the optional panoramic moonroof. Both the driver and the front passenger have 2-way adjustable headrests and height adjustable shoulder belts. Since we are in the SXL model, we get this very attractive quilted leather trim. This is sort of a brown leather. Now, there's sort of a reddish leather available in the SX, and this SXL model gets this brown Napa leather trim. It's cross-stitched, as you can see in those little hatches right there, and then we also get perforations for the seat ventilation system. Now, in case you're wondering, Napa leather is one of the softer grades of leather, and that simply means that these seats are much softer than you'll find in most of the entries in this segment. Over on the front doors, we have soft-touch injection molded plastics on the upper and middle section of the door, as well as a soft-touch armrest. You will find harder plastics down lower on the door right around here, and in this bottle holder in the door as well. Now the dashboard and the doors do benefit from one of the latest trends in automotive interiors, and this is after stitching on an injection molded dashboard. So the parts you're seeing here on the left and the right side of your screen are actually just regular old injection molded dashboard components, and then they run over them with a sewing machine, giving it this stitched look. So these are not actually multiple pieces of fabric tied together, but this is real stitching in that dashboard. The overall dashboard design in this generation of the Optima is slightly reminiscent of Mazda meets BMW. We have this chrome ring around the infotainment screen in our model. Our model does have the up-level 8-inch screen right here, and you can see that we do have the 360 surround camera showing right now. Now we are in drive, so it's showing the front view. If we put it in reverse, it would show you the backup camera view with the dynamic lines. Continuing on down, we have a storage cubby here that was very easily able to accommodate an iPhone in that manner. We have a single USB port. We also have Qi wireless charging, as indicated by that little light right there, and a 12-volt power outlet. Continuing our way back, we have another storage cubby right there, two very large cup holders, and our very traditional console shifter right here. Over to the left for manual mode, up for up, and down for down. Now behind that shifter, we have a few new buttons here. We have the heated steering wheel button, which is standard on most models of the Optima. That is a very interesting choice. Drive mode select right over here. This changes the way the drivetrain behaves. We have Eco, we have Sport, and Normal. Then we have our heated and ventilated seat controls for the driver and the front passenger seat, an electric parking brake, an auto brake hold, and the button to enable or disable that 360 view camera system. Between the front seats, we have a softly padded center armrest, which does open to reveal a very large center console. We have a little divider right there, and then we have an additional charging port right inside. This is charge only. It does not interface with the UVO system. Over on the driver's side, we have this attractive 4-dial instrument cluster, speedometer on the right, tachometer on the left, and then a color multifunction display between. Perhaps the biggest change in this interior is this Volkswagen meets Audi flat-bottomed steering wheel. It has very, very nice sport grips. It's one of the best steering wheels that I have driven in a long time. We have sport bump outs right up here. It gets narrow right there for you to put your thumbs. Very solid hand section right there. Another hand grip down there, and again that flat bottom right over there. You'll also notice that we have shift paddles on our particular model, up on the right and then down on the left. Instead of a V6 engine under the hood, we have this 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, which compares very well with the rest of the competition, including the competition that uses V6 engines. When it comes to handling, the last generation Optima was one of the sportier entries in this segment, and that continues for this generation Optima. However, the last generation was a little bit rough around the edges, and they've really smoothed off a lot of those edges for this generation. It's most noticeable in the ride that we get in this cabin. Interior refinement has been significantly improved in this generation Optima, and it now has one of the quietest cabins in the category. That's really down to the acoustic laminated window glass that we get in most of the versions of the Optima. Now again, that base model doesn't get a lot of the features that we've been talking about, but that does enable it to get that low starting price. We get a wide variety of safety systems, either standard or optional in this particular vehicle. Our model has basically everything, and that includes blind spot monitoring, cross traffic detection, the 360-degree camera so you can see what's around you. We also have radar cruise control with full speed range and collision warning, as well as a new autonomous braking system. The autonomous braking system is active at low speeds in this particular vehicle. Our particular model also has the full HID headlamps that also steer in corners to give you a better view of the road at night. Now the overall feel in the Optima is among the best in this segment, but it does change based on the version of the Optima you get. If you get the base versions of the Optima, then we don't get the same steering rack that we have in this SXL model. All versions of the Optima use an electric power steering system, but the base versions use one where the motor assistance system is actually in the steering column right here, whereas the upper level trims use one that's located on the steering rack, which is normally something that you find in luxury vehicles. That does give you a better feel. It reacts a little bit more quickly and allows a tiny bit more feedback to the steering column. So we are kind of talking about shades of gray here, but this does have about the same kind of steering feedback that we get in the Chrysler 200 and in the Ford Fusion. I would say it is perhaps a little bit lower than the Mazda 6, but not that much lower. The paddle shifters are also relatively quick in terms of operation, and you can cue shifts in this transmission. So you can click the transmission paddle down 4 shifts or up 4 shifts, and it will cue them and then execute them when it can. These paddle shifters also seem to respect your high gear choices. So right now, if we put it in 5th gear, we can floor the car and it won't automatically downshift for us. That is my preference.